Greetings, friends. You're on the Ruslan Belov channel, and today we'll discuss the situation in Ukraine as of April 1st, 2025. A massive number of events have taken place today, so let's get started. Now let's move to the front line. We're receiving a large number of geolocations and various interesting reports. The Russian side has resumed strikes using aerial bombs, drones, and missiles on a populated area. More precisely, on the positions of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, UAF, in the southern part of the city of Kherson. Here we see some very interesting footage. Kherson itself is divided into several sectors, several neighborhoods. There's a very interesting neighborhood called Ostrov Island. It's located in the southernmost part. Essentially, this island is literally an island, surrounded by water on all sides. On one side, it's bordered by the Dnipro River, and to the north by the Kashava River. We can see that since the beginning of the year, January 1st, 2025, the Russian side has been paying close attention to UAF positions in this area. This region is constantly being struck with FAB bombs, and Russian drones are constantly flying over it, attempting to locate Ukrainian military positions. Here, we're seeing footage, possibly of troop rotations or individual Ukrainian FPV drone operators arriving at a temporary deployment point. In general, there's an opinion among various military experts that if the Russian Federation ever plans to cross the Dnipro River to conduct combat operations and assault the city itself, it might happen precisely through this neighborhood, Ostrov, which is effectively cut off from the main part of Kherson. If Russian forces advance in this sector, it will be extremely difficult for the Ukrainian armed forces to regain control over this small pocket. Next, we move to the Zaporizhzhia direction. A large number of geolocations are also coming from this part of the front. We'll start with the settlement of Novoandriivka. Let me remind you that over the past few days, the Russian army has been steadily advancing in this sector. According to the latest map adjustments, Russian units, based on various cartographers, have managed to expand their zone of control between Shcherbaki, Nestoryanka, and the settlement of Myrna. These fields came under their control yesterday, according to some sources, but today we're seeing footage of strikes using Sontsapek thermobaric systems on the southern outskirts of Novoandriivka. The area was hit by a massive strike, and everything suggests that this attack may be nothing other than artillery preparation before an assault. There's a very high probability that after such a strike, the Russian army will launch an offensive. Right now, we're waiting for additional information from this sector, and there's a chance that in the near future, the southern outskirts of Novoandriivka will be marked as under the control of the Russian armed forces. Moving further, we head to the South Donetsk direction, the Bogatyr sector of the front. The most important verified footage is coming from here. Today, we'll continue discussing the settlement of Rozliv. The Russian Ministry of Defense and pro-Russian sources have published footage showing Russian soldiers raising Russian flags in different parts of Rozliv. In total, 5 Russian flags were raised in various sections of the settlement throughout the video. Some flags were geolocated, others weren't, but overall we can see that one flag was raised in the southwestern part, another in the southeastern part, and one in the northwestern part. Essentially, Russian soldiers have raised flags across the entire perimeter. Based on this footage and the report from the Russian Ministry of Defense, the settlement of Rozliv has been fully marked as under Russian control. Of course, there are still questions regarding the farms on the very western outskirts of the settlement. It's possible that these farms are still under Ukrainian control, though some pro-Russian experts claim that Ukrainian forces have also been pushed out from there. Again, based on all this, the area has been marked as taken. However, despite these reports and despite the statements from the Ministry of Defense, pro-Ukrainian mapping services continue to show and develop a very different picture. This is how Rozliv appears on Western and pro-Ukrainian maps. According to their understanding, while the settlement is under full control of the Russian armed forces, it is completely surrounded by Ukrainian positions. Essentially, the Russian garrison is encircled, and while Ukrainian forces are trying to hold the front line, the main army is gradually making its way toward this settlement. Next, we move to the Pokrovsk sector of the front. The intensity here has not subsided. New verified footage is being published daily. However, if we focus on the past 24 hours, activity has been observed in the area of the settlement Kotline. Today, additional verified footage was released, confirming at least localized presence of Russian units on the southwestern outskirts of the settlement. As you can see, Kotlin has already been virtually wiped off the map, and the only possible defensive positions are in basements and cellars of buildings that once stood here. The footage shows a drone strike on a temporary deployment point, a Russian stronghold within this village. The strike occurred precisely at this location. Based on this footage, there has been a minor adjustment in the contested zone in favor of Russian forces. We still have no verified footage confirming the presence of Ukrainian units in Kotlin. However, there is ample evidence of Russian presence, as well as Ukrainian drone strikes targeting their positions. Next, we proceed to the South Pokrovsk sector. Here, as we can see, there is a large number of geolocated reports. According to incoming information, over the past 24 hours, the Ukrainian Armed Forces, UAF, attempted another counterattack toward the settlement of Shevchenko, as well as in the direction of Dakinska and Lysivka. All attacks were repelled, with the UAF suffering heavy losses. Let me remind you that in this sector, Ukrainian forces continue trying to eliminate the salient near Udakny and Kotlin, a critical objective for them. However, so far, none of their attempts have succeeded. Every assault is being halted, and the UAF is sustaining significant casualties. Among all these reports, this particular video stands out. It shows a Ukrainian tank moving into a firing position to strike Russian forward positions. The tank was immediately detected and destroyed by drones. Here, we also see a Ukrainian infantry fighting vehicle, IFV, and pay attention to this tactical marking. Over the past few weeks, we've repeatedly noted that Ukrainian units have begun using new tactical symbols in combat. New tactical groups are being deployed, one of which was recently spotted in the Chasiv Yar direction. That group's marking was a square with 3 arrows. Here, however, we see something resembling a square with a cross inside. According to numerous military experts, this tactical group is responsible for defending the Pokrovsk sector. The formation of this unit is nearing completion, and in the near future, we should expect even more intensified assaults and counterattacks from the UAF aimed at eliminating the salient between Kotlin, Udakne, Uspenivka, Volkovo, and Pishchane. Finally, we move to the Kostiantynivka sector, where Russian forces continue breaking through Ukrainian defenses. Over the past 24 hours, reports have confirmed further expansion of the Russian army's zone of control around the settlement of Panteleymonivka. This information has been corroborated by both pro-Ukrainian mapping services and neutral sources. Pro-Russian sources also note advances toward villages such as Valentinivka and Sukha-Balka. Looking at the adjustments provided by pro-Ukrainian, neutral, and pro-Russian sources alike, we can confidently say that as early as tomorrow, April 2nd, the Russian armed forces will likely attempt to storm both settlements, attacking from unexpected, less fortified directions. Let me remind you that a few days ago, Russian troops breached Ukrainian defenses near Panteleymonivka in a decisive assault, bringing the village under their control. This led to a collapse in the front line, and now Russian forces are exploiting the exposed Ukrainian positions. At the moment, mopping up operations in Oleksandropil are ongoing, while Russian strikes on the settlement of Kalinova have intensified. This is another key point on the Kostiantynivka axis, and we may soon see escalated fighting here as well. Overall, this sector aligns with the broader pattern of Russian advances pushing toward the strategic hub of Kostiantynivka. Next, we move to the Chasiv Yar direction. There's a lot of interesting news here as well. While not many geolocations have been published in the last 24 hours, numerous reliable sources, including specialized Telegram channels and social media accounts covering the Bakhmut sector, have shared significant updates. According to these reports, the Ukrainian armed forces are currently concentrating strike forces north of Bakhmut, along the M03 highway. Some highly credible pro-Russian sources suggest that Ukrainian troops may soon launch counterattacks toward Bakhmut, Artemivsk, and Soledar, aiming to push Russian units back. The primary objective appears to be forcing Russian forces to retreat from the Ukrainian-held side of the Siversky-Donetsk-Donbass Canal. This is another salient that Ukrainian forces are preparing to eliminate in the near future. We'll see how the situation develops, especially since the new tactical group we discussed days ago marked with a distinct symbol, is operating in this area. Now, let's turn to the Lyman sector, where the Russian armed forces continue advancing, expanding their zone of control on the Ukrainian side of the Zherebets River and establishing full-fire dominance over the villages of Zarekne and Torska. This footage captures a telling moment. A Russian loitering drone lay in wait until a UAF vehicle passed by. The moment it did, the FPV drone operator, using fiber optic guidance technology, immediately engaged. This incident confirms that the supply route between Zarekne and Torsky has been severed. Vehicle evacuations are now virtually impossible. Infantry might still traverse the area on foot, navigating waterways and obstacles, but at great risk and with significant difficulty, moving toward the villages of Nova, Katarinivka, and Redkodub. Today, Ukrainian sources released verified footage of strikes on Russian forward positions. Some incidents were geolocated, including one at this exact spot. Based on this evidence, minor map adjustments were made, though only in contested zones. This suggests that while Russian advances here were reported weeks ago, only today do we have visual confirmation. Gradually, Russian forces are expanding their control northward, inching closer to Druzhelyubivka. Next, the Kupiansk sector has seen limited updates today. The most notable development is pro-Ukrainian cartographers confirming a Russian breakthrough toward the village of Kondrashevka. According to these sources, Russian sabotage reconnaissance units have already infiltrated Kondrashevka's northeastern outskirts, possibly without securing positions yet, though some reports claim otherwise. In any case, we expect a surge of geolocated data from this area soon. Shifting north to the Sumy and Belgorod directions, where fighting persists. On the Belgorod axis, today marked the first day since the offensive began without any footage from the Demidovka area. However, Ukrainian airstrikes targeted Russian positions heavily. Notably, the UAF is employing aviation near the border with impunity, even close to Russian air defense clusters. Strikes on Belgorod Oblast have intensified, mirroring Russian air attacks on Ukrainian fuel depots and troop concentrations. Both sides are leveraging air power with devastating effect. In the Sumy sector, minor map adjustments occurred after Ukrainian sources published footage of strikes on Russian positions east of Oleshnya. The clips show artillery and drone attacks on Russian dugouts, prompting a slight map revision in Russia's favor. Russian units are advancing meter by meter toward Oleshnya, though no direct assault has begun. Along the border villages, activity remains quiet, except for Basivka, where clashes were reported recently. One standout video from Yunakivka shows a Russian ambush. A Ukrainian pickup truck was pursued and destroyed by a fiber optic guided drone mid-turn. This is one of many examples of Russia's effective drone warfare, inflicting heavy losses on Ukrainian equipment. That's all for now, friends. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and stay tuned for more updates.